to change the colours and put a like sky thing, a planet in the sky.
So it's not the Death Star.
No, it's just a planet, I think.
Boom, 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 boom. 4 men in a wormhole.
Welcome to episode 3, season 2 of 4 Men in a Wormhole. Joining me as ever, I'm Stephen Gurvitz, I should say. It's the host of the wonderful show called 4 Men in a Wormhole. And joining me as ever is Simon Cohen. Hello.
Hello, it's lovely to be here.
Or wherever you are.
I'm at home.
Yes, I'm in the Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah, you seem to be in like Norway or somewhere, according to your backdrop.
Yeah, Norway.
Yeah,
Norway, absolutely. And Adam Leach, welcome.
Great to be here. Hello.
And where were you hoping to be?
Well, this actually is a photograph that I took for those looking at YouTube. So this is like Minehead. And then I used some very subtle Photoshop filters to bung a big moon in the sky and make everything look a bit red.
And it looks lovely. And Tal, you just seem to be floating in space because you're not in the International Space Station, you're outside of it.
No, but well, this is part of my Father's Day present because I got this. Oh, you can't see it.
Right.
I'm sorry, and for the listeners, because obviously those not on YouTube, it's Tim Peake's autobiography. So I thought I'd pay homage to Mr. Peake and stick.
I'm sure that's very interesting, Tal, but it's not sci-fi, is it? I don't know why you brought it up.
Real science.
Unless you're a flat earther, it's not sci-fi.
Can I say though, I've read one other astronaut's biography, and that was the biography of Chris Hadfield. Chris Hadfield's
Canadian.
Brilliant, Canadian, brilliant book.
I've read Neil Armstrong's as well. Well, I think that was a biography, not an autobiography, and I think I've read the Buzz Aldrin one as well.
Oh, well, you've got to read the Chris Hadfield one. I mean,
when it comes to Chris, I haven't got his biography. I've got the coffee table book of all of the high-resolution photos he took.
I thought you were going to say you had his coffee table, Steve.
I have his coffee table, and I just happen to have a random book on it. But I've got his coffee table and it's lovely. No, I've got the book and it's got all the photos he took from the observatory in the space station.
Simon's hating this because this actually sounds like we're talking about like real world science.
No, I was just going to say it's funny that it's on your coffee table because I heard he didn't like coffee.
Very good. Good Hadfield knowledge there.
Well, there you go. Anyway, moving on. It's lovely to have you all, and we're lovely to have our listeners, especially our French listeners, who we hear are very popular in France. Unfortunately, I can only speak French in multiple choice because that's how I was taught at school. And what we're going to do now is we're going to discuss the sci-fi events, news, things of interest that have we've encountered as a foursome or as individuals since the last episode. And let's go straight into it. Tal, you want to talk about rain?
I do, yeah. I'm going to have to apologise because Adam has kind of insisted that we're all more positive. And
I have, like series 2 is all about positivity.
I have nothing positive to say about Falling Water, unfortunately. I started watching Falling Water, which is on Amazon Prime. I think there's 2 seasons of it. I'm 5 episodes through, and I am none the wiser. And I have no idea what's going on, really. A quick summary. It's basically, I'm not sure. It is science fiction, kind of, but it's about dreaming. So there's 3 main characters. They're all basically dreaming at various points through the episodes, and their dreams are kind of overlapping. There's one woman who's basically become part of a sleep study by this rich billionaire guy who's kind of like some tech billionaire. And he's kind of sponsoring them to do this sleep study where you go into the dreams and you can kind of, anyway, and there's kind of an overlap of real life and what's in the dream world. It's quite an interesting premise. I think it is quite an interesting premise.
It's a bit like Inception.
Yeah.
It could have legs, but it's not really going anywhere. They're trying to be mysterious. and they're trying to not tell the viewer too much because they want to create more suspense. But they're kind of falling on the side of just getting a bit tedious and boring now. So I need to sit down. I watched like the first I'm on episode 5. I watched the first 4 episodes pretty much back to back because I've made myself do it. And then that was a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, and now I haven't seen any more. So I'm going to have to try and force my way through it. But my only concern is I don't know whether it got axed or whether I think like I say, it's 2 seasons, I think, but I've got a feeling it doesn't. From what I've read, I've kind of tried to read online without getting spoilers, just because it's one of those programs that I felt like I needed to kind of find a bit more background about. And from what I've read, it kind of never does the proper reveal. It never really kind of properly satisfies that kind of want to kind of have things resolved and nicely tied up. So I'm a bit worried about watching it, to be honest. But that's my recommendation. There you go. It's my positive recommendation.
So you positively recommend we don't watch that?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. And actually, you raised an interesting side subject, which is worth delving into slightly, which is Netflix and Amazon. But I think Netflix they seem to be more aggressive, have got into a habit of doing 1 or 2 season shows and then just pulling them, even if the story arc is not completed.
Yeah.
On our last episode, we discussed Jupiter's Legacy, and we all liked it. And then we heard that they have pulled it. I mean, they haven't pulled it 100%. They're going to kind of do something in the same world, but ultimately they've kind of pulled it, and we might never see it resolved. And I think, and I appreciate we're digressing, but I think it's an interesting thing to get all of your views on, because my view is if they keep doing it, they're going to annoy the audience because we invest time in it. Tal, you go first, and then Simon.
No, all I was going to say is I think it's to do with the way that people now consume things. It's a bit like buying albums. Nobody buys albums anymore. They just kind of stream the odd bit from Spotify, and they might listen to a whole album, but probably not. They might just listen to the Spotify radio of the equivalent band or whatever, and they just dip in and out of stuff. And I think, unfortunately, people are I think Netflix and Amazon are they're a little bit, I don't know, I'm going to say they're insulting our intelligence a bit, but I think they just tend to think that people just want new all the time, something different. And I think, unfortunately, it just means that I just don't think it's a shame, because you can't get invested in things anymore.
Yeah, I think it's Simon. You wanted to.
Well, yeah, I think Netflix in particular are quite ruthless. I think they throw a lot of money around in sort of various studios and around the world to make stuff for them. And yeah, so many things only have 1 season on Netflix, and it just gets cut. I think Amazon will give it a couple of seasons and see how things go. But yeah, so quite frequently I won't watch a season 1 until I see there's a season 2 or a season 3. So,
that's a good
Adam, what do you reckon?
Adam, what do you think?
I read something that it's all basically it's all statistics. It's all done with data. So they just have got such a large audience, and they know the patterns that they're looking for a hit show. So they know, so they see a certain kind of pattern of viewership, and they're just instantly, I think, whether it's got a fan base, whether some people watched it, it's all irrelevant. They're looking for a certain pattern in the data. They don't get that in season 1. They're just like, right, it's gone. And I think they're just ruthless about it, and it's not really a quality thing. I think it's entirely quantitative.
Well, yeah, it's a shame it's all run by algorithms. It's a good job we don't do that, otherwise we'd never have done a season 2.
and also, it's a very short-sighted algorithm and threshold, because I mean, I can't remember, but there's been a couple of movies that really did no money when they released.
Oh, well, there's lots
and now have done really well on Netflix and Amazon.
I think
no one would have predicted it, not even the streaming.
I think Blade Runner is a great example of that, of like both cinema outings of the original and then 2049 were both ostensibly flops, but now they've got I don't know what the numbers are, but now they're like, certainly Blade Runner, the original, was just a cult classic, and
And there was another one I read this week. So anyway, so thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. I think all avoid it. Simon, talk to us about Thor.
Oh, well, I can't talk to you about Thor, but I can talk to you about a show on Netflix called Ragnarok. And I think this is exactly what we're talking about Netflix making loads of shows and seeing what works and what's successful. I've just watched season 2 of Ragnarok, and it is getting a season 3. So I guess the data must be showing that people are watching it. Ragnarok has nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, although it may have caught my eye when I started watching it. That might have been half the reason I started watching it.
Well, there was, I think there were some stories about a god called Thor and Loki pre-Marvel.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. May not have been entirely a Marvel invention, but anyway,
they were gods or something.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. Yeah.
So look, Ragnarok is so it's a Norwegian show. It's set in Norway. It's in Norwegian with subtitles, and it's kind of like the reincarnation of the gods, and a I guess there's been an ancient battle. Adam, you'll know about this if you know about Norse mythology, which I think you do.
Yeah.
You did, but there's historically been ancient battles between the giants and the gods, and the giants are still around, and they're sort of titans of industry now. The gods were all killed off, but they're coming back in sort of in a reincarnation. And the hero of this show, if you can call him a hero, is a school kid called Magna who basically gets Thor's powers, so through season 1 he's developing the powers. Through season 2 he's putting his team together of the other gods and stuff, and trying to forge his hammer. It's quite a good show, I have to say. I've really enjoyed it, and I look forward to season 3. It's a little bit slow, and it's not sort of big on lots of special effects, but when they do it, it doesn't look cheap. It looks quite good.
Is it set in the present day?
Yeah,
though?
set present day. Yeah, sorry, I should have explained that. Magnus at school. The giants are running some business which happens to be polluting the water and killing people as well.
Are they actually giants though?
We haven't seen them as giants.
No,
but they are of the giants that previously were the gods.
Has anyone watched American Gods?
Yeah, no.
Yes,
I've read it though.
Okay.
I've read it.
I started watching it.
Similar premise of like gods being in recession.
Yeah.
So anyway, I recommend it. Go and watch Ragnarok, not Thor Ragnarok, but you should go and watch that as well because it's very good. But Ragnarok is quite a nice show. Don't expect to be wowed. It's not like oh my god, this is incredible. It's just a nice, simple story, and going in an interesting direction. Adam.
Well, also the one of my favourite Ragnaroks is also the Halo level Ragnarok, which Stephen will know.
Oh yes,
yeah. So you can also check that out if you're checking out things that are called Ragnarok. Why not do that as well?
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you for contributing. Well, Adam, why not continue? Why don't you come back?
I'll have the mic. I will.
And you may have seen what I did there, Adam. I think because I believe you want to talk about Terminator.
I do. But yeah, so basically after watching with my youngest, I've been having success watching The Matrix. He loved that. Trying to think of some other movies to watch. And I thought, I want to introduce him to Terminator. I was explaining Terminator to him and he was like, oh, it's interesting about the rise of the machines, sounds a bit like The Matrix. And, that's strange that. I said, yeah, that probably says more about me than it really does about Terminator or The Matrix. But anyway, so I thought really long and hard because with my oldest son, I wanted to introduce him to Terminator. And I went straight in with, the first film, the 1984 Terminator, because I thought, well, if you're going to start there, it's an awesome movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger as the bad robot is, you can't beat it. But actually, it's quite slow by modern standards. It's kind of like a Jaws type. It's all about the suspense. There's not a lot going on. So I took the unorthodox step with my youngest son of going, let's just skip 1 and go straight to Terminator 2. Because it's more of it's kind of like more of the blueprint of your modern your modern action movie. Yeah, it's like kind of follows that. So we watched T2, and he loved it. He thought it was great. It was really, really good. So I really enjoyed watching that kind of through his eyes, and obviously just watching T2 again. And what was great about it was at the end of it, we've got this great choice now, sort of conundrum of, well, we've now got 2 sequels but not two sequels, but two alternative sequels to choose. That there's two T3s. There's the original T3, which I don't know 2000 and I don't know when that was, 5 or whatever that was, 3, and then there's the kind of remade James Cameron Dark Fate as our next choice. So I don't know whether anyone's got any advice which one we should go with next.
I think you should let him watch them in the order in which they were made, excluding the first one, but only because the production techniques have changed so much over the years. Let him watch them in the order they were made, and then when he gets to the newest one, it's in context. So,
do you think I should go 3, 4, 5, then go back and do 3?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but you should even make sure you even do the one which is with Christian Bale, which is actually a very good movie.
I think that's, do you know what's probably the one Terminator movie I skipped? Because that one hasn't got, is all about the resistance, isn't it? It's all about...
Yeah. Arnie is in it. Arnie's in it, but only as a bit of random CGI. But
I think I've missed some of these. I'm pretty sure.
But you should, But I think you should go in production order, only because if you show him the latest one and then go to the others, he just will dismiss them simply because they don't look as good.
Yeah, I quite liked T3, the first T3 before Dark Fate. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was quite a nice movie. I thought it was quite good. Yeah, I know it wasn't received well, but I quite enjoyed it. So I don't mind. But anyway, so that was my journey back into Terminator, which was enjoyable. I also thought, after we had a discussion, I learned that there is a remake of Flash Gordon. So obviously Flash Gordon, loved the 50s and 60s stuff on TV, loved the 80s movie. And I thought, great, I'm going to dive for a bit of fun. I will watch the Amazon Prime.
Hold on. You said 50s and 60s stuff. The original Flash Gordon, I think, is 1920s and 30s.
But there's one in the 50s and 60s as well.
Oh.
Yeah, there is always, there's quite a few of them. On Amazon, they've got a load of ones that were made in 66, which it was all pay-per-view. I was kind of interested to see what they were. Some movies. And what was interesting with Amazon, one of the movies, Flash Gordon movie from 1964, 1966, the description is, watch the film that inspired Star Wars, which kind of made me go, all right, okay, that's an interesting tagline. I don't know what I thought maybe I should research it so I could bring it up in a knowledgeable way on the podcast.
I think that's a bit of a cheeky tagline, because the 1930s one did inspire Star Wars, because that's what when people went to the cinema, Flash Gordon was the B movie. You would always see it. And it's that space opera thing that did inspire Star Wars. Lucas said that, but I don't think this version in 1966 is the version that inspired Star Wars.
Yeah. Anyway, so for laughs, I thought I'll watch the Amazon Prime series. So I downloaded the first one. The ironic thing is that it was not funny at all. There was nothing funny about it. It was just really bad. I know
we're supposed to be funny, Adam.
What's that?
Is it supposed to be funny?
No, but I just thought for laughs I watched it. I sort of thought, this will be a laugh.
No irony or anything.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it really wasn't. And I know we've got to stay positive this season. But the effects were pretty much like someone had pulled them together in iMovie. It really was bad. And I didn't even finish the first episode, let alone the first series.
Oh my God.
It was
bad.
It was bad. And all that nostalgia, all of that, emotional bank account that I had for Flash Gordon just didn't work, didn't propel me even through the first episode. So a
bit like my experience with that Dune film, if you remember.
Yes.
Where it was similar. Let's be honest, with all this streaming, there's a lot of potential pitfalls. You can click on something that can suck your enjoyment out of a brand or a story if you're not careful. So anyway, so you terminated Flash Gordon.
I terminated Flash Gordon.
But this is good that we're not getting dragged in, we're not getting pulled in, because there's so much on the telly. Even Netflix and Amazon are cutting things early. We also have to cut things early. If we get an episode in and it's rubbish, we just shouldn't invest any more time on it. I did the same thing.
Let's talk about something really good. I've been watching The Bad Batch, I think it's The Bad Batch or Bad Batch on Disney Plus, which is their latest animated Star Wars series. And I never watched the Clone Wars. I might go back and watch it, but I never watched Clone Wars. But Bad Batch got my attention simply because the whole premise is there are a bunch of clone troopers who, in effect, have some genetic variation. So they are not just clones. They're clones with a difference, and they don't just do as they're told. And I'm not going to give the whole story away, but they hence are the Bad Batch, and they are in effect goodies. But what's really good about it is, I wouldn't quite say it's as gritty as The Mandalorian because it's still a cartoon, but it's definitely closer to The Mandalorian than any of the recent Star Wars movies, excluding Solo and Rogue One or whatever it was, as we discussed in the past. Simon?
Well, because I almost started watching it at the weekend, and then I saw that I think in the description it said it was following on for the Clone Wars, which is why I didn't start watching it. I thought, well, maybe I should watch the Clone Wars first. But you don't think that's necessary then, as you haven't. So clearly,
Oh no, because it literally picks up when the Clone Wars end. So I'm sure you know enough about the lore of Star Wars to know there was the Clone Wars. They then ended, and then there was Order 66. Boom.
I like that.
And
a quick summary, Stephen. Give us that summary of the Clone Wars. So at one point they started, they kind of happened, and then they ended.
Yes.
Is that how you describe what happened with the Clone Wars?
Yeah, I mean, if that was an exam question, you'd get all 3 points. No, quite literally, you don't need to. There's nothing happened in the Clone Wars which affects anything in the Bad Batch beyond the fact there was a Clone War and then there was Order 66.
I'll switch it on and I'll have a look at that. My other question was, what's the audience aimed at? Is it a sort of cartoon aimed at adults, or is it for teenagers, kids?
That question, yeah.
It's really cleverly done because it's bang down the middle. Kids can watch it, but adults can watch it and get plenty from it. So, whereas I've never watched the Clone Wars religiously, but bits of the Clone Wars I've seen in the past always felt that was much more aimed at kids. Whereas this Bad Batch, as I said, it's got a flavour. Should put it that way. It's got a flavour from The Mandalorian, so it crosses over. Adam, you had your hand.
But you'd say, but it is okay for kids to watch it because my eldest watches a lot of not manga, anime, so Japanese anime, and a lot of that is very adult. Like it doesn't play on 2 levels. I mean, it's animated, but it's just
this is totally fine.
Yeah, that's got a 15 label for a reason because it's definitely aimed at
this is totally fine for kids. And I'm not even saying there'll be bits that go over their kids. No, this is totally fine for kids. It just has a bit more bite to it, a bit more. It's really good. It's gritty enough without being too dark and adult and ostracizing kids, but nor is it too. It's not too cute. It's not watered down Star Wars. There was bite to it, and what's interesting is it's at the rise of where the Empire becomes the Empire. So it really highlights the fact that the Empire is evil.
You know what I know about the Empire? There was a point where it started.
Yes.
It kind of went, then it ended, but I believe it came back.
Well, it does. Well, actually, in Star Wars, I don't think it ever ends, does it? It just gets rebranded. So that's the Empire with its. What's it now called? The First Order. There you go.
Yes.
The Red Glove or something.
The Red Glove. I mean, I think their secret superpower is they have the money to hire a branding agency, and they just get a new logo. So anyway, I do recommend that. There's some positivity. I recommend The Bad Batch. Okay, on Disney Plus.
Before we move on, we won't talk about this yet, but just very quickly, whether yes or no, low key.
Yes.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up so far.
Thumbs up. Okay.
So far, I'm two episodes in.
Well, I think we can tell people we're recording this the day of the 3rd episode, and we'll all check out that soon. But
we can't see any because the kids we're watching it with the kids, so they're too busy on Wednesdays to be able to see it. So we're having to do it on Thursdays. So we're always a day behind.
It's I think thumbs up from everyone so far.
We're good.
So that's it. So and also before we move on, talking about other things, we just wish to do a point of order. So on the previous episode with David Green, we did the second round of our quiz. And as for our regular visitor viewers, especially our French ones, you would have noticed that we weren't quite too sure what the running score was. So what I can now tell you that before David Green's quiz, Adam had 3 points and the rest of us only had 1.
Losers.
Thanks, Adam. And then following on from David Green's quiz,
who's in the lead?
You're still in the lead, Adam. Is that the word you wanted to hear? Adam's on 6 points.
Brilliant.
I'm on 3 points in second place. Tal's on 2 points in fourth place, and Simon is supporting the base with one point.
That can't be right. Can you go back and have another look?
No, I've double checked.
The difference now, though, is Simon is smiling about the quiz. Suddenly, by the end of the quiz, after it happened, there was no smiles.
There was no smiles at the end of the
day. There was a bit of a mood.
Yes, positivity is infectious, Adam.
Supposedly, they were the wrong questions.
People keep asking questions that I can't answer. That's not fair.
Go. It's the wrong questions. There you go.
Maybe Simon, you're on the wrong podcast.
Hey,
that's possible.
Leave it. So moving on. One of the and actually this is a nice little link up. One of the things we asked David Green was we asked him to put in order his love of Star Trek and to give us the best to worst in his opinion of the different series. And we thought
taken aback with this question. It did.
Yeah, he was taken aback, and he did
throw him a bit.
Yeah, he did throw him, and he wasn't totally happy with what he came up with. But anyway, he'll have to live with that. We just thought we would come back to this subject and discuss it as a group. And I think we can simply start with the number one. Is easy, isn't it? The number one, I think, is The Next Generation.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Are we going through and making sure that we agree?
Well, we're not going through his, we're going through our own. But I'm just saying, okay. I think the easiest one is number one, which is The Next Generation.
I think for me, that's the solid winner.
Yeah.
Maybe it just says more about my age and when I watched it and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. Now, David did say his number two was the original series. Does anyone agree with that?
I think the original series has to be up there because it's the original, it's the OG, isn't it? It's there's a place in our hearts for that. But I don't think
you can justify the original series being up there because it's the original series, because that's what you did. Just by going OG, don't think it changed the fact that it's still the original.
No, I was just giving it a little label, Star Trek OG. But yeah, so it has a special place, I think, in everyone's heart that likes Star Trek, but I'm not sure I could put it second.
I don't think I'd put it second either. It's still very good, but if I think about if I fancied some Star Trek, where would I go to? Like, what shows could I watch over and over again? Yes, The Next Generation would be first, and I think next would either be Voyager or Deep Space Nine. And then I'd have perhaps the original series. It's a very good show, but it's not a. I wouldn't keep going back to it in the same way as I would some of the others.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Simon. I think I enjoyed the original series when I watched it as a kid, but I don't think I've dipped in and out of it as it kind of repeated, prior to kind of streaming and stuff. But like as an example, I think you can buy it. I think it's pay-per-view. I think you can buy the original series. I wouldn't pay to see it again. I've been introducing the kids to Star Trek. We watched a few bits and pieces, but it was like, I've been trying to get them into it, and I wouldn't buy the original series and I know it's not a great way to just get them into it anyway, because it's like, it's so dated, but I just think that, I'd put it mid-table for me, I think, somewhere.
Okay. Incidentally, unless they've changed, it is all free on Netflix currently for anyone listening, at least in this. So let's make a decision. Our number two, is it Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Picard, Enterprise?
I think my vote would be for Voyager, but I'll go with the majority.
I'm happy with Voyager there.
Yeah,
I'm happy with Voyager there. Yeah.
I'd do Voyager.
Okay, that's interesting. So we've got Voyager as number two. So number three, I'm just going to make this easy: Deep Space Nine, Picard, Discovery, Enterprise.
Here's the thing for me.
Original series.
Here's the thing with the new ones, with Discovery and Picard. I really enjoyed them, but again, I haven't gone back and watched them again. like I've seen every Next Generation like 4 or 5 times or more, and Voyager and Deep Space. I've seen them loads. I haven't gone back and watched Discovery of Picard. And is that because of the style of the show? Because you can't go and pick an episode and watch the story, and or is it that it just wasn't as good? I'm not sure, and maybe we need to.
Well, no. I think it's absolutely. If you look at Picard and Discovery, but none of us like Discovery anyway. But as we've established on other episodes,
I like Discovery
podcast, or none of us love it. Is if you look at all the old shows, even Deep Space Nine and Voyager, every episode had a very clearly defined beginning and end. Now they did do some episodes that went over 1, 2, or 3 episodes. Yeah. And with Voyager, there was an overall story arc because they're trying to get home, but each show had a very defined story. But if you look at Picard and Discovery, it's Picard especially, that's that more modern style of telling the story.
Discovery been trying to go a bit more episodic, aren't they? I think that's what they're talking about.
Yes, and supposedly the new series, which name I've forgotten, the new one based upon the Enterprise is 100% episodic.
What is it? It's not
Strange
Worlds?
I can't remember.
I think it's Strange New Worlds.
Wow, Tao's gone into the space station.
Yeah, he's off. He's off for a spacewalk.
He's going to install a new solar panel.
I have to say that I think Enterprise is. I really enjoyed Enterprise. I don't know whether that's other people feel that they enjoyed that. The Toll's actually properly gone. Oh, he's back.
Spacewalk, EVA, sorry.
So, all right, let's go with that proposal. Who's up for Enterprise being third? Simon.
Yeah, I did really enjoy Picard, though. I have to say, I did enjoy Picard. It's a close run thing. I have to be honest. I'm going to hold my hands up. I haven't seen all of Enterprise. I still haven't seen it.
No, I don't think I've seen all of Enterprise. I wouldn't say I've seen religiously all of it, but I've seen it like enough of it. I like Captain Archer.
But I'm not getting much love here about Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine was epic. I loved it was on a space station. People were coming to it all the time. They had the Enterprise visit. They had the other Riker visit. They had the Maquis. They had the war with Cardassia. They then had the Dominion. They had some of the biggest space battles in the Star Trek universe ever. They had a wormhole.
I mean, for that, actually, to be honest, for that only reason that should be put at the top. They had a wormhole.
What was it? No, but seriously, Deep Space Nine was epic. Why is it not getting more love from you guys?
I make a confession.
Go on, you've never watched it.
I don't think I've ever seen it. I think I've seen the beginning bit. Maybe I've seen, but I really haven't sat through much Deep Space Nine.
I watched all this Deep Space Nine. I really enjoyed it. I did. I thought the characterizations were just really good. They're just really interesting characters, and it just allowed them to, because of the whole space station thing. It meant they kind of went a lot more. It just was a lot broader. They had covered a lot more different cultures and things like that, which I quite enjoyed.
And they did tell a story over a long period, but still managed to keep it reasonably episodic as well. I thought Deep Space Nine was fantastic. I don't think I watched it first time around. I think I may have gone to Blockbuster Video and got all the videos out and watched it. But I think it's great.
In 1905.
Yeah.
Well, should we make Deep Space Nine our number 3 then?
I would have Deep Space Nine third, but and Adam, having not watched it, can't argue with that.
I agree.
I defer to your Star Trek knowledge.
But Adam, seriously, go and watch it. I think you'd like it. Maybe not season 1, but in the same way that Star Trek: The Next Generation didn't really get going until season 2, I think maybe Deep Space Nine is the same. But still, go and watch it. It's a good show.
Okay, yeah. Well, maybe I'll dip into some.
So moving on. Number 4. Should we drop the original series in there?
For me, yes, because I would have Picard and Discovery a bit lower down. But
yeah, I wouldn't. I'd put Picard. I'd do Picard, then Discovery, then the original series. I think.
And maybe you still got Enterprise.
Yeah, I don't think Enterprise should be at the bottom.
I don't think Enterprise should be at the bottom. I think it was quite an innovative series.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it needs to go below Picard. For me, below Picard and above Discovery. Discovery waned for me a little bit. I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons of Discovery. or one season or whatever. There's been 3, isn't there?
There's been 3.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first 2, and then the third one I just thought was just a bit. It just
I just watched it out of duty.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go. We've got Next Generation, we've got Voyager, we've got Deep Space Nine. We're then saying number 4 is the original series, or are we saying number 4 is Picard? Number 4 is Picard, I think we're saying. And then number 5, are we doing Discovery, the original series, or Enterprise?
I'd say original series, then Enterprise, then Discovery, maybe.
For me, Discovery has to go at the bottom.
What, below Lower Decks?
I haven't got that on the list, but that's a good point.
No, let's leave Lower Decks out of it.
Yeah, leave Lower Decks out.
Really?
The 1960s cartoon.
I thought Lower Decks. I would say I enjoyed Lower Decks more than I enjoyed Discovery, to be honest.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
It was a bit naff, Lower Decks, I thought. It was just a bit. It got repetitive. It was just the same thing, really.
Yeah.
It had its moments. It had its moments of funniness.
Yeah.
For me, the order you just described, Stephen, except I'd have Enterprise at the bottom. I feel bad putting anything at the bottom or lower down because I love all of them. Because I put Discovery and Enterprise near the bottom, I still thoroughly enjoyed watching them and would recommend them. But someone's got to come last.
Well, I think we'll bring this to a close. I think we've clarified David Green's list.
Have we? So what did David? So I think because David came in with an alternative list, didn't he?
He did. But I haven't got that to hand. But we've overruled it now with our list. Our list is now the list.
Definitive.
Right.
And if any of our French listeners wish to write in to tell us what their list should be,
we'd love it. Well, actually, even if you're not in France, we'd be interested to.
Yes.
Anybody who wants to let us know.
Yeah.
Let us do
that. That now is the definitive wormhole list, priority list for.
Yeah, I mean, bloggers are going to be referring to that across the globe. So moving on, our final segment for this show is what would you bring back? So we've talked about many different TV series already, but what we started thinking about is, there's always talk of redos and remakes and reimaginings and all of this kind of stuff. And Battlestar Galactica is a really good example of a really good show they brought back and reimagined. Okay.
I thought it was just a really good example of a show that you really liked and you like to talk about often.
I do, but there was an article in even The Guardian this week saying it is one of the highlights of TV in the last 30 years or something.
So did they ask for that? Did they ask? They just came round to your house and asked you?
Yeah, that's right. I wrote the article actually. But no, it is well documented as one of the highlights of actually talking about TV shows where there's an overarching storyline of it's people refer to it as.
I'm a big fan. I liked it. I thought it was really good. Yeah. Just for the record.
Sorry?
Just for the record, I'm just saying, I did like it.
There you go. So other shows that you'd like to bring back and which there's been nothing on, there's been nothing. So what would you want to bring back? Tal, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Obviously they kind of are remaking certain things. Like you said, they did Battlestar Galactica and stuff. They're kind of like, they seem to be kind of finding stuff to redo. One that springs to mind, which I did watch originally. I think it was always on a Sunday morning for somebody or Sunday afternoon, but Space 1999, which they did 2 seasons of, I believe. And I think, I think the premise of it, I thought it was quite just a not nice, but clever idea, because it's basically an explosion goes off on the moon and the moon goes out of orbit and then it hurtles into space and they have to try and, obviously,
And that all happened in that way off future year of
1999, exactly.
How old do we feel?
I know. Exactly.
That's right. And for those who don't know, that was a Jerry Anderson show, the guy who created Thunderbirds and XL5 and Stingray. But this, unlike those shows, this had real people in it.
Yes. And I remember as a kid finding it quite eerie. Like it felt very dark. And I haven't seen it since I was a kid. So probably, obviously looking at it now, it'd be completely different. But I just don't know if it was the actors, the way they were, obviously that sense of jeopardy that they had with it all. They tried to put into it. But I think it's ripe for a remake. I think they could do something quite interesting with that. there's been a retelling of it, an audio retelling of it recently. I can't remember who was in it. There are a couple of famous actors that did the audio thing for it, but it was just the originals, I think, the original script. So, it'd be good to get that revamped, I think.
I used to love it, and I loved the spaceships. I thought the model design was really engaging. I used to love the spaceships in that show, and no, I really enjoyed it as well. I think it's a great one. Adam, what shows would you want to bring back?
I think that this is kind of a great, thinking about this is such a great kick of nostalgia, isn't it? And I think the show that I used to love with a passion, I just remember Thursday nights. I remember watching this show with my family. I remember what we used to eat on a Thursday night, and it's all connected with the show. And that was Knight Rider. I like the kind of even now the tune, the theme to Knight Rider. It's got that kind of 80s kind of synthwave feel to it. I love it. All the graphics and how it looks, the look of it. It's great, and it's great. I think it was had enduring characters. I mean, Kit, the talking car, and a futuristic tech that's all come to pass. We've got these autonomous cars, and we're all now talking to our watches in a way that Michael Knight used to do it. So I think we need Michael Knight back in our life. I don't know who would play him now, but I think
probably with enough plastic surgery, you could still be David Hasselhoff. But actually, they have had 2 remakes of that show, and both have completely missed the mark because. In fact, I was watching an interview with the original creator, who also is the creator of Battlefield Skyscraper. In the original show, if you think about it, it's just the Lone Ranger, and all they did is they swapped the horse for a car.
Yeah, it was just he was out on missions fighting bad guys. Yeah,
and as the creator said, the gimmick was he would turn up to a town and he had more going for him than other people noticed or realized. So, but the remakes have failed because he's meant to be a lone guy with his horse, in effect, or with his car, and they've turned them into teams or things like this. It was interesting. The creator said because obviously the other people have done remakes.
He kind of had a team though, because he kind of had backup, didn't he? He had April, who used to kind of fix the car and do the tech, and then there was Devon.
Yeah, he had a team. But they weren't giving him a running commentary saying turn left here, go here.
No, they used to kind of let him go. And,
and then they would be back at base, or I think they had a mobile base at one point.
Yeah, they did. Back of
so yes, there has been remakes, but there's been no true remake understanding what the real concept of the original show was. And I'd love to see it come back. So Simon, what's your love?
Well, I was thinking about The Prisoner. Do you remember The Prisoner? I think it might have also been remade, but the original 1960s show of a guy that is captive in this village and can't leave, and it was the original. I'm not a number. I'm a free man. I remember I used to watch it. I can't remember what night it was on, but it was on really late at night. I think after Jules Holland type later. And,
after later with Jules.
Yeah, after later with Jules Holland. I think it could have been even later. And I probably was watching it clearly not when it first came out because I wasn't born, but probably in the late 80s. And I just found it fascinating. Just found it brilliant. And in fact, I was thinking about it last week because we're thinking about doing a bit of a tour of Wales on holiday.
I was going to ask you this very question because it's a place in Wales, isn't it?
Yeah. It's called Port Merion. It's on the it's on the Irish Sea on the west coast of Wales, and it's basically. I don't think it's changed. I think you can go there and it looks exactly how it looks in the show.
Been there.
Been there, have you?
Yeah. Been there a couple of times. I went with Nikki a few years back, just before we had kids. I think we were there on holiday, and we had a little walk around. It's really, it's a very cool place. It's been really well. It's just the architecture and everything. It's just crazy. It's very nostalgic. But yeah, they did remake it for sure. I actually watched the remake and I actually really enjoyed it, but I don't think they didn't run it again. I think it got axed. The remake.
ITV remake. I think ITV did a remake of it.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a while ago. Yeah, I'm just looking it up. Yeah, it had Ian McKellen in it, and yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe I did watch that.
Proper actors.
Yeah, the 2009 miniseries. Yeah, based on The Prisoner.
I think I'm going to go and rewatch the originals though, if I can.
So there was a big ball thing that used to chase him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, there was a big ball.
That exerted some kind of control. That big ball thing. How did it do that?
Yeah, big balls are scary, Adam. Did somebody get trapped inside the big ball? Was that what it was going to do to you?
Did it trap you inside?
I think so. If you tried to escape, well, you just couldn't escape, could you?
It used to lurk menacingly, didn't it?
Yes.
Yes, sort of hovering on the beach or in the sea.
Yeah.
What we could.
You would do a new redo of The Prisoner, and so that's I think that's quintessentially a very British show. I think most of the shows we think of are not always British, but that one is a very British pseudo sci-fi show because it was just weird. So it was It's
a British one that we could remake. That just popped into my head. Blake 7. I remember Blake.
Yeah. Blake 7. That was quite a following at the time. Was that British? I never watched Blake 7. Was that the British version of V? Remember America? They had the series V, where they were fighting aliens and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a space. I was looking at it now, really. Terran Federation.
Blake's a bit of a kind of Buck Rogers, sort of like a Buck Rogers type thing, isn't it?
Maybe it was British versions of Buck Rogers. And Buck Rogers would be a cool one to bring back, in my opinion. But the show that I was thinking, well, there's quite a few shows that I'd love to bring back. I think we mentioned that there is talk of Quantum Leap coming back, so I'm not going to dwell on that. But I would happily bring back something like Airwolf.
Because that to me is very much like you've got your Knight Rider, your Airwolf, your Street Hawk. Yeah, they're all kind of similar shows.
Yeah. Let's stick a man. Okay, we've got a show, a man with a car. What can we do? Oh God, let's do a man on a bike.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a man with a car, man with a bike. Let's have a man with a helicopter.
What Street Hawk didn't have that both Knight Rider and Airwolf had was just great theme tunes.
The Street Hawk theme tune's amazing, and I think it was by Tangerine Dream.
I can't recall that one.
Oh, you'll go Google it after this. YouTube.
I can remember it's quite an electronic-y sound.
It's really cool guitar.
Oh, yes, that's right.
It's really good.
I'll check that out
and then images of him shooting out of the garage.
That's right. That's right. It was the weirdest show because they had this super bike, but unless the guy in the garage pressed a button, he couldn't do certain things. It
wasn't autonomous or anything, though, was it? It wasn't like Kit. It didn't have a personality.
No, because it relied on another guy back in the garage doing stuff for it. I know it's very bizarre. But now this isn't so old, but I actually say it's not so old. I think it is probably. It's just that we don't realise how old we are. But I would redo Babylon 5.
Yeah, I never watched Babylon 5, I have to say. So I've not seen it.
Well, it was a massive space epic. And actually, one of the arguments is Deep Space Nine was a competitor and was in effect, I believe the creator of Babylon 5 approached the Star Trek team originally. They turned him down. So then Babylon 5 came out, and then Deep Space Nine came out, and it was based on the space station.
I think in my mind, Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine are definitely kind of linked together. I didn't really watch either of them, so I can't really comment, but I do kind of peg them as the same kind of era. Babylon 5, though, used something like, I don't know, the rendering was done on like an Amiga or something. There was something...
It was done on Amiga. Yeah. They didn't have the budget for physical... models.
They didn't have any like Sun Spark stations. They did like
no, and they did the whole thing on Amigas. And recently, they put it on Blu-ray, and they've cleaned everything up, and it looks fantastic. And it was amazing. I mean, I think they had to leave the computers on for at least overnight to do the rendering. And they wouldn't have. I don't think they had one computer rendering. I think it was a whole bunch of them networked together. But yes, it was all done on Amigas, which obviously was a big thing at the time compared to the production costs of Deep Space Nine or Star Trek: The Next Generation or whatever it may be. But I think that's right for either. And let's say, whenever we say comeback, it doesn't have to be a rehashing. It could be a reimagining, or it could be the world of,
or just
so many years later,
a re-rendering.
or it could be a re-rendering.
Re-rendering.
Yeah, but I think these shows are ripe for redoing. Obviously, the problem is when they're not done well, it then bursts our bubble, and it's a disaster.
It is nice to look back and be nostalgic. Although, I mean, really though, when I go to the cinema and when I read books, I'm always hankering for that kind of new story and those new characters that I don't know. And I think really, as opposed to I'd like to see less remakes and actually more new stories that with characters we haven't seen before, because that's generally what I think would be better. But anyway, I still would make Knight Rider.
Yeah.
I agree with you on Knight Rider, Adam, in that I think that we like Knight Rider. I don't think it's nostalgia. I think it genuinely was a great show.
Good.
The car is still cool. Would not be nostalgic there.
The Firebird Trans Am is cool. There's no doubt about it. It also had a kind of like, this is not on the list here, mate, because it's not sci-fi, but Knight Rider had a kind of A-Team vibe as well. A-Team, not sci-fi. Really popular, and I think Knight Rider kind of crossed over. Was a bit sci-fi, but was as popular as something like the A-Team.
I'd bring back but they did do a movie, the 80s.
They did do a remake. I watched, which was just okay. I think
it was okay, but I don't think it was bad. But it's that they didn't want to stick with it. I think if they'd done a sequel, they could have built on it. But maybe that's another show waiting to come back at some point to us. So on that bombshell, I'd like to thank all of you, because we've come to the end of this episode 3 of season 2 of 4 Men in a Wormhole. Simon Cohen, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you more.
No, thank you.
Adam Leeds, thank you very much.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, the third series of, the third episode of series 2.
Easy for you to say.
I can't even say. is phenomenal, and with now our growing listenership in France. I mean, it's. Yes. It is astounding.
Vive la France. Vive la France. And Tal Silverman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. There's no chance of this ever getting axed. The algorithm will always say that we're on an upward trajectory.
Stephen might decide. He's looked at the numbers. He's that access.
And Tal, maybe next time you'll learn how to get nearer to the camera.
Yes, well, I can now, because I had to come off my lap. There you go.
Silverman's beautiful place. So on that bombshell, as I would like to end, thank you to all our wormies for joining us. This is 4 Men in a Wormhole signing off.
4 Men in a Wormhole.